This is a true story sent in by a viewer. A story about a family, a historic home, and something inside it that had been waiting for a long, long time. In October of 2003, Jamie and her husband Ben were searching for a bigger place to raise their 3 kids. Their oldest, Tori, was 10, Bridger was 5, and baby Jackson was only 8 months old. They needed more space, more land, and more quiet. One day, Janie's aunt told her about a property that wasn't even on the market yet, an enormous, centuries-old colonial home in the tiny town of Lamar, Arkansas. When Janie saw it, she instantly fell in love. The wraparound porch, the massive shade trees, the wide, open land stretching behind it. She had always dreamed of raising her kids in a house like that. But there were things about the house that should have been red flags. The first time they looked inside, one of the upstairs fireplaces was boarded shut. Spray painted across the boards was a pentagram, surrounded by melted candles. Underneath the candles, someone had written the name of a boy who supposedly died there. But they brushed it off. Probably teenagers messing around. The house was a dream, and the price was shockingly low. So they bought it. A few days after moving in, Janie held a yard sale. As she sat on the porch, an older woman walked up to her, stared at the house, and said, "I used to live here when I was a little girl. There are a lot of spirits in that house, a lot of energy." Then she walked away. Jamie laughed it off. Behind the house was an old Confederate cemetery. Maybe that's what the woman meant. But that night, the house made its presence known. Ben was studying for a theater class when he heard a baby crying through the baby monitor. He immediately went upstairs to check on Jackson. But the room was empty. Jackson wasn't home. He was with the babysitter. Ben didn't tell Janie. He didn't want to scare her. But a few nights later, Bridger came downstairs, shaking. He said he heard people talking in his room. Not one voice, dozens, all talking over each other at the same time. Janie told him it was probably a dream, until she started hearing it too. Every night, around 3 a.m., loud pounding echoed through the walls of Janie and Ben's bedroom. Not settling wood, not pipes. It sounded like someone was hitting the wall with their fist. Then the hallway light started burning out over and over, no matter how many times they replaced it. Toys in Bridger's room turned on by themselves. Footsteps creaked down the stairs. A rubber ball would roll slowly down the staircase at random hours of the night. Janie tried to keep calm for the kids' sake, but then she ran into someone at Walmart who recognized her. The cashier said, "Do you live in that old house in Lamar? I lived there as a kid. That house is haunted." She claimed that many years ago, a young boy fell from the upstairs window, the same window in Bridger's room, and died. Janie's stomach dropped, but things were about to get much worse. One afternoon, Janie was picking her kids up from school. Road construction forced traffic into a narrow path. One of the construction barrels had been placed in the wrong spot. Janie tried to swerve. The car rolled. It flipped several times. Her daughter Tori was thrown from the car, and the vehicle rolled directly on top of her. Miraculously, she survived, but she spent 10 days in the hospital. Janie couldn't shake the feeling that something from the house had followed them or caused the accident. It didn't make sense, but nothing in that house made sense. A few weeks later, Jamie was sitting with the babysitter, Desta, working on the computer. The computer monitor reflected the room behind them. As they talked, they both froze. In the reflection, a tall, dark shadow walked behind them. They turned around instantly, but the room was empty. At that moment, Bridger came down the stairs. But something was wrong. His face was blank, empty, like he wasn't really there. Janie thought he was sleepwalking until he stopped in front of her, looked up, and let out a laugh. But it wasn't his laugh. It was deep, scratchy, almost adult. A laugh that didn't belong in a child's body. Their dog ran past him, sprinting up the stairs and barking violently at a corner of Bridger's room, as if something was hiding there. When they finally got Bridger back into bed, they went downstairs and noticed something. The dog's leash, which had been hanging by the door, was now draped across the stairs, as if someone or something had moved it. That was Janie's breaking point. She wrote a column in a local newspaper describing the activity in the house. A week later, a paranormal investigation team contacted her. The Central Arkansas Society for Paranormal Research arrived months later. 2 mediums, a technician, a skeptic turned believer, and a teenage girl named Violet, who also had psychic sensitivity. When Violet stepped into Bridger's room, she immediately backed out. She said she felt a crowd of spirits in there, dozens of voices, all trying to speak at once. The exact thing Bridger had described. Janie told the team about the house's history. It had been a stagecoach stop, a speakeasy, and at one point, a county jail. The team decided to use a Ouija board. The planchette began moving almost immediately. They asked, "Who are we speaking to?" The board slid to S-E-T-H, Seth. They asked, "When did you live here?" The board slid to never. They asked, "Can we see you?" The planchette traced a figure 8 and pointed to the camera. When they reviewed the footage, the camera captured a form, a tall, black outline, as high as the ceiling, slowly taking the shape of a man. Violet said nothing at first. Then she whispered, "There's something else in the house. Something bigger. Something very old." After the team left, the house grew cold again. Janie awoke one night to the sound of footsteps in the hallway. Soft, slow, deliberate. She checked on the kids. Nothing. She went back to bed. But the footsteps started again. And now there was another sound. Dragging. Like something being pulled across the floor. Janie woke Ben. They both stepped into the hallway. The sound stopped right in front of them. Then came a deep, slow exhale. Not from a human, but right next to them in the dark. Ben turned on the light. It flickered violently. And for a second, in that flicker, they saw it. A human-shaped shadow, standing at the bottom of the stairs. When the lights fully came on, it vanished. That was the last night they slept there. They packed slowly over the next few weeks. Every time they went upstairs, Janie felt watched. On the final day, she entered Bridger's room one last time to close the door. As she turned to leave, a whisper slid across the room. "Don't leave us."